Welcome. Thank you for joining me. I'm Karen Ann Lusick McDonald. It is such a privilege to be here and to talk with you today. I have been looking forward to this all week. So, those of you that are catching this live, or if you're going to catch it on the rerun, I want to welcome you in here. It's been a busy week, and I just wanted to let some people know where they can find some of the information I've been putting out because a lot of people are really concerned about some of the stuff going down. So, I'm going to suggest if you haven't heard about the local ostrich story that we're seeing here in the Kootenays Monashee, I want you to take a look at that. I've done several videos right now. One of them has been at Maverick Media News with Rick Walker, and that was last week. And again, thank you for some of the different elders and the First Nations that prompted me to go on the air and talk a little bit about it after they heard, and the local, I might say, farmers were very concerned. They got a hold of me as well because they had heard some of the shows that I've done with Ryan Velli. And Ryan Velli has got his own channel. You'll catch 3 shows we've done there in the last week. It's been busy. And that's at Natural Intelligence on Rumble and BitChute. So take a look there because one of the ones we talked about was some of the different issues in here, which extends. We've got level 3 bioweaponry, experimental things being put into animals. And of course, with my dear friend and colleague who I actually admire and really love the information that Sabrina Wallace is putting out, you have to have a basic understanding that this is bio-cybernetic technology that has been injected to people, dogs, no different than the ostriches, and they have been cybernized and hyborged. So these are no longer ostriches of any way, shape, or form. They've been experimented for 5 years. The infected materials have been going into local gardens that they've been selling and also being put into the local water tributaries because that hasn't been addressed yet either from an international point of view. And where we're going, it flows all down south, guys. So our water up here comes through the Revelstoke, goes through the Arrows Lakes, and then into Castlegar and becomes the Columbia Water Basin, which is an international water treaty, by the way, that goes all the way through Spokane into Seattle, out to Portland, and out to the actual ocean. So we provide a lot of that water here. And so we take it very seriously. So a lot of the grandmothers have called me in the areas that have been quite concerned. So I did my best to address that as I did with the Columbia Water Basin Treaty, going through the Sinaic lands here and also through Bear Clan territory, which we have zero tolerance for violations of destroying the ecosystem, for our children, loved ones, and for the wildlife here that we've been here to protect. So anyway, take a look at that. I'm really excited about that. And of course, the next one we did was, oh my gosh, if you can imagine, Dr. Richard Allen Miller. Okay, do you guys know who he is? Put in the comments here if you know who he is. So Dr. Richard Allen Miller. So Rick, or he's known affectionately as Doc Ram, and he's been incredible. So I'm going to put in below here also what we did here at Dr. Richard Allen Miller with Ryan Velli, because he's one of the leading experts. If you guys don't know, he developed a lot of the CERN technology and basically built some of these colliders back 60, 70 years ago when he was actually quite young and was scooped up by the Navy and the Space Force and everything else. He was the one that developed a lot of the ESP and what you call the technology for supersonics and psionic defense for the Super Soldier Project, and also trained the Navy SEALs. And if that wasn't enough, the X-Files was based on him. So he literally was down in Hollywood as the technical director for the first half of the year of the first season because it was based on a lot of the work that he did. He claims to have been up to Mars. He's been under Area 51. And it's also, he's claimed as well to be in Sector 4 group like your Area 51 and talk to Krill and other ETs. So whether you like it or not, the guy's got a QS-18 security clearance, right? That's above the president by a long shot. So let's see. And I like it. Welcome, Resistor. It's a mad world today for sure. So anyway, if anyone has any questions, I thought I'd look at some of the new technology that we're developing and playing with. I want to have a big shout out to Tony Pantalleresco. He sent me some really cool things. And Tony Pantalleresco is at TONP, Tone P on Substack. He was Canada's probably top herbologist into anti-nanotech. And so I've been doing stuff with him on and off since his crap ball started up in 2021 and did stuff at News Inside Out because Tony's got the grip on things. When you start seeing some of the technology he used for people that had been unjabbed, he literally was able to start reversing things like Lyme and Morgellons. So, when E.F. Hutton calls, I don't listen, but when Tony talks, I do. So in here, it's also doing some really new technology. And if you haven't seen it, taking Slim Sperling's technology and taking biogeometry and putting that together with what's called copper wire tensor rings. And not just wearing copper, because what we know is it can stagnate the energy. And that's not what we want. We want this stuff to pass through and basically neutralize, if not hand it off. Yes, E.F. Hutton. But anyway, so Tony's actually developing some stuff, and he's working with actually the copper, anywhere from 12 to 18 gauge. And he's making some clockwise and some anti-clockwise. So it's kind of like the male female, but we want to have it in and neutralize and disperse. So I know gold and silver is a little stretchy for a lot of people, but the copper wire and using zinc is not. And so you want to take a look at what he's been putting out. He just put a brand new manuscript, 130 some pages of a booklet together. It's mimicking kind of the DNA. I showed him some stuff that was used in shoes, and be darned if he didn't start making copper special springs in his feet. And we're trying to, as you walk, ground and neutralize. Anyway, I feel like a slinky. Anyway, so this is some of the new technology. The other thing I'm going to do, as you probably see in the back here, there's something called a neurovisor. And that came out from another acquaintance and friend of mine and developer in the field of biofeedback is Garnett Dupuis. And so I'm going to show you guys what this little cute thing is. It literally straps on. It just clips on. Looks like a whole bunch of 9 LED lights in here. And it interfaces with basically the Genius. And what it does is when you start wearing it, you can convert the sound, the tones, the frequencies, the solfeggio tones, whatever you want to say. You put on this little neurovisor, and if you close your eyes, you'll start seeing fractals. So it's a new way for people instead of having to microdose. So as you can see, it snaps on. It's very secure. It's very lightweight. And not only does it have 100 and some programs that we can start using it for, and you can listen with headphones at the same time, but this is going to be a game changer in the field of neurobiology. And because people are getting so much brain damage, brain fog, glitching, we're seeing that increase with the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8G, whatever they're throwing at us, the Wi-Fi and everything else. So this simply actually can be put on and programmed, and you don't need to use it more than about, probably about 11 to 15 minutes a day. There's some great stuff I'll be putting out there. It's going to be on my website, and I'll put those links below for you. So if anyone's got any questions, Resistor, Terry, nice to see you in the audience today. Feel free to ask. So these are one of the things, like I said, we just got them in. I am so excited because Ryan Williams at Inside Health Apps has now put their stuff in. So this is the kind of new thing, not just for sleep, meditation. It's for increasing what we call neuroplasticity. And that basically means we're going to get a little bit brighter. So anyway, and I'm just finding people need to relax and meditate more. This is a hard time for a lot of people. But anyway, if you haven't seen this neurovisor, please take a look at it. And these are some of the things we can start accessing here. So all these things here for sleep. And just like I said, I can interface my new Genius biofeedback technology into that, which is great, and start playing those frequencies for people. So you can do that from a distance, which is kind of fun. And the new thing we'll be doing, you guys have probably heard this as well, is that down in the States, and it won't be far long before Canada, and I'm hearing rumors that this could be a done deal by July the 1st. People will be fully aware that, we're all part of the same little, empire. And so one of the things in here that we'll be seeing will be some changes. And in the States right now, this is scary, guys. What you're actually going to be able to do is plug in your symptoms to an AI teleprompter. And basically, it will give you a diagnosis based on the allopathic medical mafia system. And from there, we'll actually be recommending and referring you what your drug of choice is. And if you really need to talk to someone, then you can talk to like a MD for that. But this is where it's going. And these are already getting set up to replace the medical doctors and the nurses, because as we know, they're having a hard time in that profession trying to stay just alive on top of this stuff. However, what we've done, and again, thank you to Ryan Williams again at Inside Health Apps, he has developed an in-house version that we can actually take your sessions and say, okay, we know we've got a low vitamin B3, we got a low vitamin this, we have a low mineral this. It can be suggested, and you may want to look at this herb or this particular thing to address those conditions. So we will do it in a natural form, and that will just be able to help us correlate stuff, because a lot of them don't have the background or the years that we have in the industry, or went to university. We've got a wonderful university. I was just in there yesterday with Dr. Paul Duran out of our University of Integrative Medicine, where we're putting out quantum doctors and PhDs and masters and all sorts of things there, which is great to see. So we're finally getting some recognition there, and I am very grateful. So it was great to spend some time yesterday with him in a nice little meditation, get us all focused in the university here with quantum medical doctors and nurses. So that's kind of a fun thing. So yeah, any questions anyone has, feel free to ask. This is going to be your half an hour here. We're going to do our Fridays at 5, and I think things are just coming down the pipe so much that I think I'm going to start doing this. I like this frequency at 5s on Fridays instead of oh my gosh, it's Friday. Anyway, so yeah, this has been pretty exciting. The other thing too, I'm recommending is people, if you haven't looked at some of the technology, I'm going to go through some of that in a bit. I've got a lot more apps. And again, I'm seeing a lot of them. We're not just limited to one. There's something for everyone. You can get preloads and put your voice in, and it will tell you what hormones to balance, how to get better sleep, how to meditate better. And this is all natural. So I like to think as my biofeedback device, this is basically having like about 70,000 tuning forks all in one app. And it can work really, really nice. Most of it is outside your hearing or above and below it. So the other thing too, I want people to look at really simple things. I've gone back to like the old days, using drums, using those herbs, those oils and everything else. And one of the things I wanted to show you, very nice sets I'll be doing. And I'm really excited because actually on the solstice, June 20th, 21st, and 22nd, I'll be spending it with a friend of mine, David Hickey of the original Canadian touring of sound baths. And he's like the master guru, the wizard of wonderful water, gong shows and baths and everything like that. So we will be on tour here in the Kootenays. I'm really excited. We'll be at Winlaw. We'll be at New Denver. We'll be having some more things coming up in July, even at the cusp. So the West Kootenays are going to be swinging here. If you need to have something for fun, this will be the place to be in the next few weeks. We'll have to offset all the crap at the ostrich farm. Anyway, but these are really nice tuning forks you guys can get. And you can look at Eileen McKesnick, or, I don't care if it's Amazon or whatever else, but a lot of these are great forks in here. And you can take a look at these and have fun. You can get a little hockey puck or whatever you want. And you'll hear these things vibrate. So I'm going to start teaching again online a little bit more like this. And, it's your Frequency Friday at 8. Is it? You're on the East Coast, are you? Well, we're 5 here in the Pacific. So anyway, these are some of the fun things I want you to look at. These are not expensive. You can get a lot of these for, I've seen them as low as $10, $15, or entire kits for under $100. And you can actually start, and if you guys can hear them, but what you're doing is you're called bioresonancy, and we want to get into coherence. So if anything's out here in the 430-32 range, you're going to start vibrating. And this works again on the outer rings of the biofield. And that actually starts clearing a lot of things that we see, let's say with emotional, mental, or other kind of conditions that may be in there. And Harold's, Terry, you're right. You purchased that through Samoa Energetics before David was sold it. Great. We've got Eileen McKesnick. There's quite a few other different places. So have fun. And so I've been using a lot here too, and a lot even with the weighted. And those are something too. If you don't know, there's a difference between just the plain tuning forks and what's called weighted. And these are really great. They can be adjusted. And again, they can go on acupuncture points. And if you've ever seen a chiropractor start doing basically activators where he's going on and shooting a gun, these are excellent points to start working with essential oils on meridian points. So they are amazing. And that's exactly it. You're tuning in the body. This is actually, well, we're not bodies, but These are our days of atonement or attunement, and this is a great way to do it. The only difference, like I said, is going into the biofeedback devices is that we are actually going in with thousands and tens of thousands of frequencies, but not just a pure tone. We're taking the substance or the frequency of, let's say, lavender. I'm taking the frequency through the speakers, putting them through the computer or the iPad, and generating the sound of that plant or that oil. And again, it's a great way to introduce it into food and water. It's, again, doing surgery or acupuncture through sound. And it's another nice thing to do. So if anyone's got any questions, feel free to ask here. So I'm going to suggest people take a look at that, those different videos that I did. So I don't know if you guys have seen them yet, but where I decided to do them was put them at Natural Intelligence. So I do have a Rumble. I do have this YouTube that's still safe. Thank gosh, because we don't use it too often, but we'll start putting some things out. And I'm happy to announce I've been spending a large part of the last few months is putting in what's called reverse engineering, basically antidotes. So as we've known about things, let's say like the serratia marcinians, cesium 137. So everything that I found actually the ostriches and stuff like that, people's biofields, from the fires, from the floods, from these fogs that are coming in. I have found them as well in people for months and months and months. And I'm glad to see that Dr. Jane Ruby and Mike Adams have correlated that in their lab. So one of the things I started doing was actually getting the different radionic frequencies and doing those things for serratia, doing those things to help people, because that becomes an issue, and if we can put them into frequencies, when I'm all for that. So it's kind of nice taking a look at these. So these are some of the things just to let you know that I have put in. And so we can run these frequencies on people and have them actually go into someone's bioenergetic field and start breaking up some of the really discordant or the stuck or that denser energy that you will see on people. And for those of the people that don't see energies or auras or feel them, this is a great way to take an snapshot of what's going on in that individual's life. So these are really great to run through and then just run the frequencies through. So these are some of the things I've been using, using them several times a week, sometimes actually completely overnight, because what you're doing is you're creating a energetic field. And again, that field can be actually used to keep harmony in the house as well. So you can take a picture of the house. So these are some of the fun things I've been doing. And, again, doing the remote access for people. And if you haven't had a session or you would like to have one, I certainly do consults for people. And those consults, it's not a safe place to put it, is that? Those consults for people can be one-on-one, and they can be from anything from FaceTime to anything, because a lot of people are having questions. There's a lot of anxiety out there. And one of the things we talked with Dr. Richard Allen Miller this week, Ryan and myself, and I'm really glad, because with his kind of expertise, he's been, what do you want to call reactivated? There's about literally 3 people in the world at one point that had his caliber of expertise, and the other 2 have just died. So that left him. So if you can imagine being at 81 years old, thinking that you're going to be, enjoying your retirement and get called back to work full-time into the Navy as a consultant because of what's happening on the West Coast. So how many of you actually know what the axial seamount is? Do you guys know in the audience what that is? The axial seamount is actually kind of that volcanic action that's happening off Crescent, off the California, Oregon, and Washington coast, right by the Cascadia. So those little babies have started up, and we've had as many as 7,000 little mini quakes going on. And this is becoming an issue. Once that pushes up against, the plates, we're going to start seeing some more movement. We've started to see that. And I've never seen so many geo and alerts out right now. It's absolutely nuts. And Terry's saying that you got clients in Oregon. This is the time you should not be in Oregon. You should be like way out. I would suggest at least 400 miles off, or at least 4 hours away from any coastline at this point. Once that shoves into what they're suggesting is the volcanoes will go off, which is going to be Mount Olympus, right? Mount St. Helens, we already knew what a mess that was. And once that triggers off, the other thing I just remembered is, oh my gosh, we have a nuclear facility, Hanford's down there, and it's been a mess as well. So the bottom of BC could be a hell of a mess down there. And that would push into different things here, even into our plates. We have many fault lines in British Columbia, in the Siniat territory, and they go at Revelstoke. And guess what would happen? There goes the Revelstoke Dam. That's okay. We don't have to worry. The ostriches will probably float down the river, and so will Edgewood. So could be the end of it. So a lot of those towns, maybe you don't know, but Edgewood and Nakusp were actually flooded at one point when the dam came in. So there's actually half the town has been relocated or it's underwater at this time. So it could be a very interesting thing. Like I said, we could have ostriches floating down to Spokane and out to the ocean and maybe ending up with a few pelicans and flamingos. Who knows? Anyway, not to be worried. Oh, Colin's in there. Colin Wise. And salute to Karen Ann McDonald. Nice to see you. And so those are some of the things we want to take a look at. And the other thing he mentioned as well, which I thought was really interesting, how he was correlating some of the triggering may be something, and he's suggesting it may have something to do with Beetlejuice. Not the movie with, Keaton, Michael Keaton, Beetlejuice. But Betelgeuse is also in there. So there's a whole bunch of things that is suggestive in there. So people are talking, is it Nibiru that they're seeing all over, right above Mount Etna? Have you guys seen that? Gina Colvin Hill's been pushing stuff off. There's been ETs, UFOs, and huge things. So whether it's Nibiru, it's her Columbus, it's Planet X, there's a whole bunch of weird stuff going on. Definitely. And so that could also push into, like I said, Revelstoke Dam going, pushing further into what we would call the geyser at Yellowstone. And he's quite convinced that if that goes off, boom, there goes Montana, part of Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. And let's take a look of all those sort of things. Is that basically that's going to affect a large part of it. If part of the grid goes down, we could be down for weeks, if not months. So just depending if it's going to be more localized or something up in there. So I think that's one of the things too. And Terry goes, Karen, I bet you didn't know I'm a certified Reiki master teacher as well. I actually didn't. And so am I, but I never use it. So those are different things too. I think it's great that we all feel energies, whether people call it Reiki or Theta Talk or Body Talk. Touch for health, quantum touch, touchy-feely things. And one of my favorites is actually, you never see that. Do you ever notice? I don't tell anyone I'm a Reiki master or shaman too often either. Or who I really adored actually speaking it down there in Shoreline and all that is Dr. Richard Bartlett. Yeah, Richard Bartlett's pretty awesome there. My matrix energetic guru. That was probably one of the most profound I think I've ever seen in there. So, when you start learning a little bit about remote viewing and the power of intent. And today I was actually watching on Michael Jaco and on Roseanne Barr is Darius Wright, and how he's teaching people how to meditate, having, astral traveling or out of body experiences, and getting that breathing going and getting focused. This is a time really to do the inner terrain, right? Rather than the outer terrain here. So those are some of the things I just really want to focus on there. So, and I think, yeah, as Colin's saying, I am back at kindergarten school, education-wise. And that's exactly, we're just starting all over again in a lot of ways, and I think one of the things to be is prepared is to actually be flexible and to be mobile. And that's, have no idea what's coming up. And I think that was part of it when my friends just pulled up in the alley next to me, right? And we had a nice little chat here, but we've gone through the fire scene this last year at Slocan, right? So I lived through these blazes that you're seeing in Saskatchewan and Alberta. And so I thank gosh I'm not there this year. But anyway, at least it will flush out a lot of mosquitoes up there. But one of the things that people are bringing to me is they are so concerned about that and north of Winnipeg and what's going on. I said, you have to know where these 200 bunkers are per province, guys. You need to know what they're cleaning out and why you need to relocate. I am not one of the people that says here, you need to sit here and be a land defender and they're not going to do this in my land and blah, 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 and pull common law. Well, in treaty law, we think we know what we're doing. And we realize that when they're coming at you with direct energy weapons, you leave. Okay. And The people that I've seen stay in these areas have got issues now, not just lung. It could be turbo cancer, cognition, pre-dementia, because you know what was coming off all this off gassing and smoke and the friction that we saw with all the terahertz, like 6G, firing the trees. That's why they're all standing here. They just look, some of them a little gray. It's very scorched here, like I'll tell you. But the people were breathing in what? Do you guys know what was the number one thing that I found when I tested people on my Genius and biofeedback and scalar devices on the energetic testing? Guess what? Lead poisoning. Okay, so that was a huge thing, as you can think of the accelerants of what was happening and what it was producing. And these people were breathing it in for weeks and months on end. And now they're going to pay the price for it, right? So like I said, it doesn't matter. Your life is not worth anything if you don't have your health. So a building can be replaced. Anything can be replaced. Gosh knows I'm the last one. I don't have insurance or any health cards or driver's license and insurance stuff for that. But you know what? So what? You always replace things and you always have exactly what you really, really need at the time, which is nothing. But all you have to do is go with the flow. Things are always provided for in a different way. So I think this is huge. And as Colin's got a great point, Canada's going through a huge transition, but Canada, whatever. I mean, it's just a terrible thing. Most people, I did a show on Maverick, media the other day. And one of the things that people do not realize, the minute I started bringing in, because they were all like, going to wave their Canadian flags, right? And then Freedom Convoy this and Freedom Convoy that, and how they do this, and can't tell us what to do on farms. I said, oh, yes, they can. You've breached containment. You have breached every different law that we possibly have here, and they need to be shut down. They need to be arrested. You need to actually, when you've got literally biological tickers in there that are little atomic bombs in them ready to go off with MAC addresses, you need to burn and incinerate it. You don't put in my local landfill to pollute the land, which is right next to the dam, which is right next to the biggest waterway that goes internationally. Not too bright. And this is one of the things that people are missing. But the minute, I brought up what this was from how we look at it from a perspective, right? I was called by hereditary grandmothers and some hereditary chiefs to deal with this. They brought in a fake clan mother. It could have been more obvious. I'm like, ridiculous. But these are cybernetic biosensors, right? You just found nanosensors in the toilet roll. Absolutely. The toilet roll, the Charmin, the Purex, whatever you've got in your tushy little cushy, those are full of sensors. Just like I saw them in the masks. Can't imagine people want to put more crap into the masks and then mask more people, give it into injections and sprays and then into candy. But like I said, we're dealing with psychopaths here. They are so unbalanced, you don't know where to start. We got bouncy castles up here to fake clan mothers to fake bear clan stuff, And again, not appointed by any of us. I will point out, by the way. But those nanosensors were always in. We see them in women's and every toiletry, right? We saw them in Kleenex. We saw them in also women's tampons and their maxi pads and stuff. So, but talking about doing, clean toiletries for a long time. And I'm in an area here, right, which is as close to basically getting us off the grid to like as granola as people could possibly get here. It looks like Hippieville in a lot of areas here, and that's okay. This is where most of the, freedom guys went and the draft dodgers and everyone else here. But when you start looking at what's going on in these areas is that they use actually outdoor latrines still, because a lot of them went like, you wouldn't put like, a toilet in the house next to your toothbrush or your food or your shower, one end to the other. But the other thing as well is they use something called P-wipes. So a lot of stuff is out here. It's not unusual. We'll go into stuff and they will reuse basically, face cloths cut into half. And there's a lot to be said for that. So, and condensed realities in the house as well, too. So Colin's got a great point. He said, Palantir's reverse is an ancient fallen angel. And isn't that heavy duty, and I just love that. And Dave's in here as well. It's starting to round out here quite nice. So anyway, Colin's got some great stuff. We've done a lot. And if you don't see, Colin, take a look at them. You're on what, X and Twitter. You're on my Facebook as well, and a few other things. Again, very much into, and the awareness is there heavily, as we've learned a lot through the synergy groups as well. I'm still with Solana Fox, which is an outreach and out kind of a breakaway of Sabrina, but we do biofield therapy and biofield practice and teaching people really simple things. One is meditation, but I sent something up going, show me your biofield these days. And I will tease actually Robert Bauer or Ryan Velli again, as everyone's talking about, like unjuice.date, right? And the new thing is show me your biofield, right? That's in your top 64 questions. But you got to take a look at, what Sabrina Wallace is bringing to the table. And until people get a bigger understanding and get a deep dive into the biotechnology that's been used with the Y ban and the medical ban and the military industrial complex, and really this is the agenda. I'm not going to argue virus stuff, which means poison. There's tons of poisons in there, and it was interesting listening to one of my other acquaintances and friends over the years I've met is David Avocado Wolf was talking with Judy Mikovits this week, and just seeing what she brought to the table. But, we don't need to buy into the hype. I mean, it's interesting. Just as for my reassurance, I talked to some of my friends in these different chains of command, and I said, what's going on here? I don't want this mess in my backyard. If Rima LeBeau wants it, Dr. LeBeau wants it, Dr. Oz, none of this stuff is going to happen. Nor do they have any international weight and authority to make these decisions. They're not in that level. But we need to go about what's happening, and we watch when people are getting played, watch the psychological operations, watch the distractions going on, and I think we all know that we can all have that sense of inner, like there's something coming, so I think it's amazing in here. But how do I say, I don't know how I survive. Is it YouTube? I have YouTube derangement syndrome. We could put a new one up there. Anyway, Colin's saying he found a patent for removing and reinstalling a human soul sick today. Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there. We can talk about you love you too. One of the things in here is again, souls can be removed. When you get into Steiner's technology, what the actual injections did, it disconnected the soul. So whether we call it the pineal gland, or we call it the third eye, or we call it the sixth chakra, there is disconnections that can happen. And to me, it's like, I don't even think it's NBCs. It's basically more like we're sitting there with, like, it's dead. They're not there. You've got like a walk-in or a skinwalkers. Terry's got a question. Karen, where are you on Rumble? I am on Karen Ann Lusick McDonald on Rumble. So you'll see that. And, if you're on my YouTube, look for the live streams, because you're not going to see if you just look under the regular thing there. So, yeah, I'm definitely, that's where on Rumble. I put up, that's where I put my Rima LeBeau stuff. And I had put up a few things to do with some classes I taught through the Genius Biofeedback. We did a BitChute group and a Telegram group as well. That was spearheaded by Michelle Martin out of the UK. And we did something called Quantum Chit Chat. So we did lots of that there. But I have one of them there, and just the recent ones with Dr. Richard Allen Miller that I thought were important to get in there, because I think it's really important to value some of the wisdom of some of these elders that have got to meet over the years. So, and it's nice to do that. So, yeah, anyway, so those are some of the things I'm going to encourage people. If they haven't had a session or you want to talk, I'm definitely available on Facebook and on Telegram and on X. And, oh, thank you. Far Out Truth Reality. That's interesting. Is that got a channel too? It's great shows. Yeah, thank you. I've really enjoyed them. But I think what we're going to do, if you guys are okay, you'll find me here Friday at 5 Pacific time. We'll do that. And then you guys can bring your questions or get a hold of me. If there's anything, if you guys have some suggestions you would like to look at, I think that's really, really important that we're going to start going through. I'm going to start doing, essential oils and things along that line. looking for, again, getting things like sprouting, just in case some water you lose your water and you can't do it, flush the toilet. I went out and got, 8 5-gallons. So, add it up. I've got 40 some gallons here's ready to go. Couple you might need for that. You might need to know how to do a little porta potty. Like, there's a lot of things, like, you never know what you never know. And even today I started cleaning out. So next 2 weeks I'm thoroughly cleaning out my campers and revamping and downsizing and doing things like that. Just in the off chance, you may have to do stuff like that. So those are always fun to do. So anyway, if anyone would like to see something, like I said, you're welcome to make some suggestions. My NHS blocked me on X. Do you want to tell me what that is? That's an acronym. I don't know. National Health, whatever. I'm not sure. What is that, Colin? What's the NHS? I'm not sure what that is. But anyway, we're going to go through some of these really basic things again here. I was right. I was pretty close. National Health Service. Thought so. Yeah, in there. So I hope you guys are enjoying some of the stuff I've been putting out. Have you guys been great with some of them? You guys on my inner circle, by the way. I have an inner circle, which is Karen's Data Truth group on Facebook as well. There's a couple thousand of you there. And I got about 7 Facebooks. The other 5 they haven't caught up with yet. So that's okay if we need to go somewhere. And I really wanted to thank you guys for being around. And Colin, Terry, far out, do you have anything? Wayne, do you got anything that you guys want to see covered or you would like me to address? Just put those in and we're certainly able to get that going. One of the things I want to bring to your attention too, people haven't seen some of these things. This is a really cool kind of rife that I've been using as well. I don't know if you guys will be able to hear it, but basically it's an A to Z rife by Insight Health app. So you just actually touch whatever the category is. Like if you got acne, headaches or stuff like that, literally just touch that and away you go. And again, these could be done with headphones. You could put in neodymium bracelets. And these are some of the fun things you can do. So this is similar to what I did. I went and pre-programmed things like Serratia because guess what? It's not in here, guys. So if you want, if you need some help or something like that, do take a look at that. But these are some of the things that are really, really, really nice. Can you guys hear that? Is that coming through or is my echo cancellation removing that? Were you guys able to hear that? Yes. Yay. Something's working today. That's great. So those are some really wonderful things that make a difference. So, on here. So anyway, I am going to be off for today. It is Friday. I know you guys have a lot to do this weekend, right? How's Mary doing? Mary's doing okay today. And where you guys all, tell me where you're calling in from today. So just give me an idea of location to see where you're all at, see if there's anything we know about. Where you guys are all hanging from. I know Colin's over there in the UK. Atlanta, Georgia, Edinburgh. Of course, I got a relative. My McDonald's came off there. Got to go do that one of these days. South Indiana, very much. And the Appalachians, nice to know that. Now, that's one of the things, too, Terry, it was just, just as a reminder, Atlanta, Georgia and stuff. Remember in a lot of those areas that we're seeing in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, Carolinas, still have clients in there that are very ill from things that happen in Connors with the biolabs, with the off-gassing, with the train derailments and stuff like that. So East Palestine, Liverpool, you're going to see a lot of stuff I've been putting up. Have you guys noticed the actual maps I've been putting up with NextRad? Have you seen them on windy.com? Have you seen what you're seeing in those areas? It is absolutely nuts. And so when you start seeing what happened there in Ohio, right? My clients they're vomiting blood, rectally blood, can't get out. A lot of them are on oxygen now, on CPAP, on inhalers. It's absolutely insane. A lot of hair loss. I had a couple of clients that actually couldn't get out of bed. It took me about 2 hours. We actually got her well enough so that I use the biofeedback and distance therapy. We finally got her to the kitchen. We got every essential oil covered, baking soda and some other things. And she was able to get into a stable enough thing that she wasn't having vertigo and we could get her moving to help people in the area. So it is so sad. And I have been talking, by the way, to Scott in the area who's doing the hazmat, by the way, the testing. So I'm directly talking with them if we need to. And, just like the same thing with the water, I sent a few things on X. Hopefully she got it. Maybe she didn't, but I sent it to Aaron Brockovich. That's another thing. I get very upset when people put biohazard and ostrich shit into my waterways, international water war crimes. So yeah, this is one of the other things that we're seeing in there. And, not far from that ridiculous, I don't even say ostrich farm. They're no longer ostriches, right? Did you guys notice that I coined that phrase? Did you hear what I put? I called it an avius Strodio Camelus Borgenesis. Should be a bird genesis, and a ratite, right? So it's literally lab ratite. Those are things that are absolutely correct. And I've got clients not far from there because again, Kelowna was on fire, Lytton was on fire, and so is Scotch Creek North in those areas of right up to actually within an hour or so of the ostrich thing at Edgewood and stuff. And my clients have since passed away, by the way, and all their dogs and their animals. So, this is not anything I take very lightly. So when people think they have bouncy castles, I think they need their heads examined, need to be charged internationally for this kind of war crimes, right? So those are one of the things in there. But yeah, everyone's waiting on the U.S., the military JAG. I know. Where's that Judge Advocate General people? I mean, I dealt with some here last year. I spent 5 months with my JAG guys, my vets here. And the other thing as well is don't forget that most people don't know Canada's got JAGs up here too, guys. Okay, so, yep, absolutely. And Colin's got a thing. I'm trying to chat in Korean, Mandarin, and Russian about Y-band to spread the message. Oh, that's ironic. You know what? I picked up an English-Russian and Russian-English translation thing today. I'm thinking I should go on Amazon and get one of those sticks because I'm starting to talk to a lot of people. Not always is it easy to do that stuff in here. But Terry's making a thing in the chat room. They are working feverishly. I'm still connected as a U.S. MC vet. Yes, that's right. You guys are a lot of you guys. People don't realize, when I was talking with Ryan Velli, right, and National Guards, no one's really like deactivated or retired these days. So I know you get people that say like Rick Miller getting called back and stuff like that. You guys are just doing amazing stuff in here. And there's going to be a lot of stuff here. Colin's got a point. He said, I asked a Space Force Chuck. I almost thought you said Chick for a second. Okay, Chuck, a year ago, if all our nations could be mounting a collective Article 51 self-defense against cyber attacks, he said yes. Turns out he's a major in the U.S. Space Force. So yeah, that's a whole thing as well too. We definitely are seeing that. But it was funny. I was talking to one of my people deep on there, and I like to call my genuine kind friend, another GK. But one of the things in there as well is that they said you realize, and Sabrina also mentioned to this. She says you realize that your Noah's Ark is legitimate. It's lawful care. She says it's recognized by the Department of Homeland Security. I said I would think it was on copper. Right. And then one of the other things as well is that this was actually, as they said, Bear Clan territory. This Octarian, Tartarian, same thing, potato. So, like I said, we're trying to get the word out. I think everyone in here is trying to do that. And the public need not know. CJ, yeah. Isn't that about it? Anyway, it's getting to be a need to know thing. So I hope you guys are all doing well. It's been almost an hour, so I think it's a great place to start. I know it's been ages since I've been on actually talking, but I've actually missed this. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to start seeing if some people want to get some sessions. Maybe we could do some fun things. So that's my next plan. We're going to do a little healing over here. And so what I'm going to do is I've got a little bit of the genius in here. And so I put a really cool little plan together. There's the BioVibe one, which I was doing, which I really thought was cool. If you haven't tried the BioVibe, remember any of these, if you haven't tried them, you get just about a week for free. So there's BioVibe you can put on. Just go to Inside Health Apps or get a hold of me. I've got the links, but you can even just go to Inside Health Apps and you can go try out all these things for like a week. There's Odyssey, which is really kind of cool. So, it's something you can just speak into. It picks up your voice, right? So it's picking up the voice in here. And then basically what it does is it does a preload, so every one of these can be played with. Like, don't just, settled for one thing, and it does your little scan and it says here, you need to sleep better, Karen. So we're going to play all these things and, get you a calmer brainwave, or your hormones are at a place, or whatever it might be. And I like this. It's kind of going like, Star Trek. Do, 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 do. And so, yeah, this is one of the things that, like I said, play with these things. They're really kind of fun, and quite often with a client, I will do actually all three at one time, by the way. That's why I have several devices. But in here, apparently my immune system, and there's mold. And I know that because you know what? I just got it into the camper and I discovered there was a piece of fabric that got damp. And I just handled that mold, and there we go. It knows me. I don't know if we can see that. Probably got to see it, but that actually has got the mold to it here. So it wants to do a mold detox. I can taste that in the back of my mouth. So anyway, I think that's what I'm going to be doing some of that. But yeah, if you want Inside Health apps, so we got, it's Ryan got, he's got so many. There's an emotional one there. There's a bio vibe there. And a genius one. They're really cool. And there's an intentional one if you need to set intentions. So have fun, like knock yourself out. If you can get a week free, by the time you're done, you've got like a month worth of stuff. It's kind of fun to play with. So anyway, let's see you guys later. Okay, so we'll be in touch, and call if you need anything. So we'll take care and have fun. See you guys later.